Daniel Jones. Touchdown, Giants.
Here comes Allen. Looking long. Throws to the end zone. And the ball is caught.
Oh, look at the Cowboys, a little trickery. Wilson's going back to Prescott. And it works. What a play for the touchdown.
Mahomes stops, spins, flips it forward for the touchdown to Edwards-Helaire.
That was like a peck. Not his
Have a
dad.
good game.
Playoffs? We'll talk about playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
This is WHPC Sports Talk.
The NFL playoffs roll on. Wild card round over. Divisional round over. The Giants season over.
Yeah, it's over.
But it was a good ride.
Yeah, it was. I don't know how much I really believe in the way you're saying this. I don't know.
So what do you mean by that?
Because you came in before the show. It's like,
yeah. Go ahead, Ross. Let the audience know what Josh was on.
Damn, the snitching is crazy.
I am going to rip this. I'm just gonna leave it till after you ask me about the Giants-Eagles game.
All right.
I'm gonna leave it till then. I'm gonna say.
We know Ross got some strong takes on it. Let me introduce everybody. Joshua Umahi, joined by Ross Levine. Franz Capierre, the other Giants fan in the room. How we doing?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
I was so ready to talk because you came in here with this negative energy, and the rest of the world is probably coming in here with this negative energy. But I ain't gonna let nobody bad talk my Giants because we exceeded expectations. Philly had to turn off our water, tried to have our boys come into game time dirty. But it's okay though. It's okay though. I'm real happy with what happened. Not with what happened, but how the season turned out. I thought it was going to be a little closer, but at the same time, they did wash us earlier in the year. And, yeah, but I'm not going to let nobody bad talk my Giants because you're not bringing me down. You can't break my soul. Yeah.
We'll see. They definitely had a season above expectations, so we'll definitely get into that in a little bit. But Eric Williams, how we doing?
Yeah, well, on the other hand, the Cowboys broke my soul, so.
Not the Cowboys, though.
I will say, like, after seeing that Tony Pollard injury, the emotions was just running. I knew the game was over from that point. And it was only the first half still. But you talk about the reason that injury happened was because Mike McCarthy didn't want to run out Brett Maher for a field goal. So they went for it on the 4th and 5. They got it. Dak ran for it. But if you at least just give him the field goal, because you know he can make those long-range field goals. If you give him the field goal, whether he misses it or not, you might still have another week of playing, and you might still have Tony Pollard.
That's interesting because I know all the talk about Brett Maher, the Cowboys kicker, was, he missed 4 PATs in a row, and obviously he was going to miss the first one yesterday, whether it was blocked or not, but that aside, like, he basically put the Cowboys on his back yesterday offensively. I mean, he was making long enough field goals.
Yeah, he made 2 field goals yesterday. I mean, he did what he had to do for us.
Yeah.
We called him out there. He did what he had to do. So.
And he was called out there often enough because, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, they carried the Cowboys offense for a lot of years, so I can't even flip the script on them completely, but they were definitely disappointing yesterday. But we'll get into that, as well as all the other NFL playoff action this weekend. But first, 516-572-7440. That's the number to dial. Giants fans, we're going to start with you. So, Giants-Eagles 3. So we had the first game, obviously, no Saquon Barkley at MetLife Stadium. Eagles win 48-22. So there's that game. Yeah. But then there's a game in Week 18, final week of the season. Giants are resting their starters because they clinched the week before against Indianapolis.
Right.
Eagles did not yet clinch the NFC East or the 1 seed. So they had to play everybody. Jalen Hurts came back maybe a little too early. Didn't look all that healthy. Wasn't running the ball all that well.
Yeah.
Giants lose by 6 points, 1 possession, with Davis webbing them. So you're thinking with that game and a lot of the talk on New York sports radio and all the talk shows and all the national talk shows even was the Giants. If they played the Eagles A team, if the Giants B team played the Eagles A team to a 6-point final, maybe the Giants got a chance when they have Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and all the guys, especially coming off that game against Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Listen,
exactly.
anybody could I don't know if you could have access to the radio talk show from when that game happened, but that game didn't move me. That game didn't move me not one bit, and because I stressed the fact that Jalen Hurts wasn't a runner. And then on top of that, this is win or go home. This is not regular season here. We can't look at a Giants B team playing the Eagles A team in the last week of regular season football and think that the Giants are about to come in here and playoff football and do something. So as a fan, I was like, I wasn't really moved by that game. Like, yeah, it was cool that we didn't get smacked, but still, it didn't move me because of the fact I know the Eagles weren't going as hard as, even if they didn't clinch. I understand they wanted that week off or whatever, but even if they didn't clinch, like, they're still in the playoffs. So I think even if they came out with that loss, they're not super like upset about it. You just want to be in the race. Yeah. So that's why I wasn't thinking like, okay, the Eagles are going balls to the wall right here.
So, somebody in this room that's hosting this show thought that they were going to win this game.
I did.
Really?
I really did.
Really? 38-7.
I don't know. I got caught up in the hype. I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Everyone was like, oh, the Giants, the little Giants that could. They going to do it. 2007, 2011, they going to do it again.
And that's the problem, bro.
I got caught up in it.
That's the problem, bro. People was getting caught up in the hype. This is not any of them teams from back in the day. That team had Hall of Famers, bro.
You're right.
That team had Hall of Famers. And although like the record was the same, it doesn't matter. One of our D linemen got stiff-armed by Jason Kelsey with one arm and put in the dirt.
I think it was like Leonard Williams or something.
Nah, it wasn't.
Kayvon, maybe?
No, it was number 71. I think his name like Brandon Williams.
Oh, him?
Yes.
He's a bum, though.
But still, Jason Kelsey, he's like 79 years old. And he bodied him. I was like, nah, when I seen that play, I was like, yeah. I knew this was happening, bro. I knew it was happening. People got caught up in the hype. That D-line is nothing compared to what we had back in the day.
It's not even close. And also, like, this is why I never thought we were winning this game. Every part of the positions, roster to roster, they're not the same, the Giants to the Philadelphia. They're not even close. I mean, the Eagles have the best offensive line in the NFL. They have 70 sacks, third most in NFL history for a defensive line. You look at the wide receivers they have, the running game they have, like, they're better in every area. So, to me, if we were going to win this game, I would say it was going to be a close game. Maybe like we would actually win by a field goal. But as the game is getting closer and closer and closer and kickoff happened, I said to myself, if we're going to lose, we're going to probably get blown out because of all those factors, because they're better in every single area. Mm-hmm. You can't blame Dable. Everybody blames Dable. Fourth thing, go for it.
They got to relax on that.
Yeah, it's really like you got to be aggressive. You have nothing to lose. You're in the playoffs. You nobody was expecting you to be there. If you're going to win and beat this team, you have to be aggressive. Mm-hmm. We were not. And guess what? So for the people that want, that can't stand Dale going for, okay, so you want Joe Judge back? You want those Pat Shermer guys that aren't aggressive with just punt?
Yeah.
So I can't stand that slander. We would not win that game anyway.
I wasn't mad at it at all. Because think about it. That same go for it mentality is what started us off this season against Tennessee.
Yep.
And then against Washington Commanders, Daniel Jones connecting with Richie James on a big fourth down. Like, that's been the motto all season. They're going balls to the wall. They're not here to play around, and I'm here for it. So I wasn't going to turn my back on Dable because he did what he did, and I was happy with it. It didn't turn out our way, but boo-hoo, like, just on to the next play. It happens.
And Ross, that's basic like sports media in New York to be like, oh, who can we blame? When it's just like, yo, it's just as simple as the Eagles are just better. Sometimes it's just that simple. You don't have to blame the coach. You don't got to blame the quarterback. You don't got to blame the running back. Sometimes it's just as simple as the other team beat our ass. Mm-hmm. So, see what the caller has to say. First caller of the day on WHPC Sports Talk. Caller, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Frankie from Flushing.
What's up, Frankie?
How we doing?
I got to eat some crow today. I was one of those guys. I predicted Giants 24-20 last week on Friday. And, at first I really didn't think the Giants were going to even make the playoffs. And I don't know, there was something that just said to me, you can catch lightning in a bottle. I mean, on any given day, anybody can win anywhere. I mean, look at that Buffalo. Even though they wound up beating Miami a couple of weeks ago, Miami. I mean, they had no quarterback, and they almost beat Buffalo.
Yeah.
So on any given day, anybody can win. But the Eagles just solidified the fact that they are not to be played with. I mean, got to tip your hat when when it's due, and they just came out and they just won like Ross said. I mean, they won every aspect, every facet of that game. It was like they were playing a JV high school football team. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, you do have a point, Frankie, with the Miami reference.
I said I was going to call, and I got to take my medicine, so that's why I called. I called the Giants. Hey, listen, I'm not stupid. I mean, on paper, like you guys said earlier, on paper, the numbers, everything was leaning Philly. But I just really had a feeling, that they could catch lightning in a bottle, especially after that Minnesota game. And, I mean, Minnesota probably just is that bad.
Yeah,
that they made the Giants look so good. It
is that pass defense. So, they were last for a reason.
Yep.
We was carving them up. And when you look at that's another thing, when you look at our offense, when we always start these games, we start so slow. That's why we've been known as a second half team, because we can't kill in the first half. But Minnesota, we was moving like a hot knife through butter. I was like, oh, wow. Like, what's going on here?
This is new.
And that's what I thought. That gave me, I was on the fence, and then when I see they played that game against Minnesota, I'm like, and the way, I mean, it wasn't so much that I thought the Giants could win. I just didn't have enough. I thought Philly was, a bit of a flat tire after Hurts got hurt. It wasn't so much I thought the Giants were better and they were going to win. I just thought maybe Philadelphia may have not been in the right state of mind to play that game, or the physical state to play that game, and the Giants could steal one, and I was wrong. But I'm rooting for the 49ers now. Mm-hmm. I called them from the beginning, and they'll probably lose too, but I'm pulling for the 49ers.
All right, Frankie, pull up to the Brock party. All right. I respect
guys.
it.
All right,
take care, guys. Thanks for letting me on.
As always, Frankie.
I ain't gonna lie. 49ers losing next week.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm positive about that.
You think the Eagles... See, here's the thing, and to go to Frankie's point and then expand on yours, let's not forget that there was some uncertainty around the Eagles before the game, too. We didn't know if Jalen Hurts was 100%. Mm-hmm. The last time we saw him, he looked kind of hampered against the Giants in Week 18. Mm-hmm. They were kind of banged up in the trenches until around Thursday and Friday, where you knew Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, those guys were going to play, Josh Sweat. But there was some uncertainty. People were wondering about the Eagles. They peak. I said they peaked too early. Now, I still don't know if that's true or not, because the Giants, like Ross said, they're just more. The Eagles are more talented than the Giants.
They are.
So I don't know if in better competition against San Francisco. Now they're at home, which helps, and obviously Brock Purdy. Even watching yesterday's game, I know the stats look good. I know he had some good highlights, but I'm watching the game. You can force this kid into rookie mistakes.
Oh yeah,
you can.
We see it. If you're really watching the games, you're not just watching highlights on Instagram or social media. You can see the Cowboys when there's pressure, and I thought Dan Quinn did some good things yesterday in terms of putting the pressure on him. But I know he made some good plays. It's still, I can't even call him Mr. Irrelevant now. He's very relevant. Yeah. He's extremely relevant, but you can still force him into mistakes. So
he showed us that advantage. He showed us that in that Las Vegas game. That's why that game. Yeah. That's why that game was that close. Because he was making those rookie mistakes, almost threw a couple picks. So when you do put pressure on him, it can go left real quick. But at the same time, as long as he just keeps his composure, he got a lot of vets around him, help him keep his composure. I'm still riding with the Niner gang.
I think that I'll say this. I think the Niners have a shot. I think they have a shot to beat the Eagles. I wouldn't pick the Niners, but I think they have a shot just because they do have a great defense. And listen, defense does win championships. Mm-hmm. They do say that. So you can't rule the Niners out. I do think they're going to give the Eagles a lot more of a run for the money. And listen, they have a guy named Christian McCaffrey, and that's the X factor. I mean, because we all seen the Eagles, obviously before the Giants game, they weren't great at stopping the run. I mean, you can.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, they're not great at that. So if Kyle Shanahan's pretty smart when it comes to, being able to run the football, and that's what they're built off of. If they can run that football, keep Hurts on the sidelines, and when you actually get ahead, make Hurts a passer. Like I don't. It's not impossible for the Niners to win that game. It really isn't. The Niners are a Super Bowl contending roster. So are the Eagles, but the Niners, so are they. They're built to win the postseason, and I think they could do it.
When Brock Purdy took the starting job after Jimmy G and obviously Trey Lance in week 2 got hurt, why we thought, or a lot of people thought he was going to have success was because look at the weapons around him. Ayuk, Samuel, that's obvious, but even George Kittle. George Kittle, because of Jimmy G's incompetence, was like an afterthought. I mean, this guy 3 years ago was kind of seen as one of the best, if not the best, tight end in the game.
Yeah.
So when Brock Purdy took over, I don't know what it is. They just have better chemistry, but George Kittle's looking like that guy again.
It was like a breath of fresh air.
Yo, for real.
Turning over a new leaf. But at the same time, Kittle, he be having his injury problems. So I don't know if that puts less confidence in Jimmy to get Kittle going, but for Purdy and Kittle, it was a new start. Nobody could say anything bad about each other. So it's like let's build this back up from the ground up, and that's what's happening right now with those two. So that's good for them. But I will say, like Ross was saying, CMC is the X factor. Once they get that ground game going, Philly's they're gonna be loading in that box. They're gonna be trying to focus on this run so much, and like you said, Ayuk, Samuel, Kittle, that opens up the floor for them to go crazy, get those mismatches. But something that I wanted to talk on briefly and ask you see how I know Ayuk's having the best season of his career, but with all these weapons, do you think there's gonna be that time where San Francisco breaks apart? That receiver group is one of them got to go. I think it's gonna happen sooner than expected.
It's impossible to keep all of them. You see, it's perfect example was Dallas last year with Amari Cooper. You had to let him go because you had to make a decision, and you took a risk with Michael Gallup, and it slapped you in the face because Gallup didn't produce really. And you don't know if that's because of the ACL injury, and he's just not 100% yet. But the whole thing is, you can't keep all of these guys at one time. It's going to come to a certain point where you're just going to be like, all right, we got to put all our chips in on one guy, and that's just going to be it. So
that's a good point. I mean, we see it with every great team. The one example that pops up in my mind is the Legion of Boom Seattle Seahawks, where you were thinking yo, that's the next dynasty in football. Yeah, they have all these guys on defense. They have Russell Wilson on a rookie contract, but then they lose that Super Bowl at the end to the Patriots, and then they're never heard from again, really. So
you think that could happen with San Francisco?
Oh, definitely, because look at all the talent, not just on offense, but on defense. Yeah. If you want to keep a great defense together, even D'Amico Ryan's their defensive coordinator. So he's up for a lot of head coaching opportunities this offseason. Yeah. So if they lose him, I don't know who's going to replace. They already tried to replace Saleh. They got Ryans. I don't know who's going to replace them both. Yeah. So it's going to be tough to follow that up a third time. And Bosa, they already had to trade DeForest Buckner, who they haven't really missed somehow. Who's a great player with Indianapolis now, but
that's just because they know how to draft, and certain teams just know how to draft very well and fill in those blank spots. So credit to them. I mean, they drafted Javon Kinlaw after they traded DeForest Buckner. He's finally turned out to be something. So, I can't take that away from them.
49ers Eagles is definitely going to be a great game. I really, just as a football fan, I'm not too fond of these two teams just because the Saints have had their history with the Eagles in the playoffs. The 49ers whoop our ass every time. But I like what both teams have going on. It's definitely going to be a battle. We'll get to the AFC in a little bit, but for now I want to remind everybody that you're listening to WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College. 90.3 WHPC. It is Joshua Umahi joined by Erik Williams, Ross Levine, and Franz Compare. Before we get to the AFC, though, I want to kind of take a moment on Erik Cowboys real quick. Not even on no troll, whatever.
No. It's. But I get it. I mean, this team had expectations to go somewhere, and it was finally looking up. You got that win last week in Tampa. Whether you want to say they're not good as a team is like they shouldn't be in the playoffs. You can say that, but they made the playoffs in the first place. We ran through them. We did what we had to do. You come to the 49ers and you lose Pollard. I will say if Pollard played that whole game, I give them a real 75-80% chance that we win that game. Because that you missed that explosiveness on offense. And once he went out, you know Zeke isn't going to get it done. And this is why I will say this offseason, don't be surprised if the Cowboys make a move and they cut Zeke, keep Pollard, right? And don't be surprised if they draft a kid out of Texas. Draft a running back in the first round.
Ooh, Robinson.
Because if he is the best player available, Jerry Jones is going to do it. He's going to take that shot on him.
Yeah.
Because he's already visited. So
that's crazy already. Yeah, you're right on Zeke though, because I mean you're just watching yesterday. He's not the same guy.
No, he's not
the same guy you paid all that money to. But thankfully for the Cowboys, they can get out of that contract this offseason. So,
and this is the best offseason to get out of that contract.
Yeah.
So
it's a big decision for one of your franchise players. But for now, we got another caller on WHPC Sports Talk. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from? What's up?
Hey, Josh, it's Justin calling from the car right now.
What's up, Justin?
And, I actually just got hit by a car like 15 minutes ago.
Yo, you good?
Fine. Yeah, you want to know what's crazy? I get out of my car. I tell the guy to pull over. This guy just does a 180 and speeds away. So
damn.
That's hit and run. But, no doubt. He was literally going half mile per hour. But that's besides the point. My question to you guys, and Josh, I'd really like your opinion on this because, you've done the broadcasting before. What is your guys' rankings if you're going to do, like, the top four for each, network, NBC, CBS, the ESPN, and Fox, as far as the broadcasting goes? Because I honestly cannot stand Tony Romo. This guy just does not know when to shut up. He doesn't let anything breathe. He always has, Jim. It's like he's orgasmic at points. And then the other point is about Olsen, because I think Olsen's pretty solid, but I remember reading that Brady signed a huge deal with Fox.
Yeah.
So it sucks that they have to break him up because, as far as like a first-year announcer goes, I think he's pretty solid. But I do want to get your guys' thoughts on if you were to rank, the four. My hot take is I think Collinsworth gets a lot of hate. I don't think he's that bad. If I'm going to pick a crew, I'm going with Tirico and Collinsworth. But I'm going to listen to you guys. I want to hear your thoughts on that. Have a good one, boys.
Thank you, Justin. That's a great question. That's a great question.
Yeah, it is though. But I think number one is definitely Joe Buck, Troy Aikman. You definitely missed him on Fox. Definitely, because I'm not a big Greg Olsen fan, and supposedly they're doing the Super Bowl this year.
They are.
Yeah, the TV will be on mute. It'll be music playing in the background. Like, I don't like Greg Olsen, especially like yesterday. He was just like, "What are you talking about, bro?"
You know what's crazy that I was just thinking about that yesterday because I just realized that 49ers Cowboys, that's a big game of the week. And I'm hearing Kevin Burkhardt used to do the Mets field reporting.
Yeah.
So he came a long way to broadcast the Super Bowl. But
he went from being the Mets reporter, he did a lot of baseball games for Fox. Then he did football, and then
just worked his way up. Yeah.
Right.
So Burkhardt and Olsen, I agree with Justin. I feel like they've done a good job to start. It's a tough situation. Obviously, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are leaving like a big asshole. Like that's tough to replace right away.
Those are huge shoes to fill.
So there's that. I agree with him on Tirico and Collinsworth too. I feel like Collinsworth, he's annoying at times. He got the voice. He got the here's a guy like that's him. But him and Tirico, I was surprised because obviously Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth was a big tandem for years.
Yeah.
They did a lot of Super Bowls together, so many huge games together, but I thought Mike Tirico, my favorite Italian man in the world. I thought he stepped up and really did a good job and filled in. He had a great call on that Sam Hubbard 99-yard return. Like that's what I need in broadcast. I need energy, I need excitement.
Yeah. He was good this year. He was great.
Like I love Al Michaels, but I'm listening to him on Amazon this year.
He fit way better with Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah,
he also like kept like criticizing the meaningless games that he would call. Like anytime you had an opportunity to be like that game means nothing, or like this is a stupid game, like he would take advantage of that.
That man hated his job this year.
Yeah, he did not like his job. It did not look like it.
No, he was calling. Which game was it? It was
like Rams Raiders, something like that.
Rams. Oh, he was going through with that. He was just like, yo,
yeah.
Baker Mayfield just showed up off the street. There was Bears Commanders. He was going through it this year. So I'll give him credit. He didn't have the most exciting games to call, but I don't know. If I had to rank them, so we're doing NBC, ESPN, CBS, and Fox.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the broadcasters for certain channels. I mean, if you're going by like Fox, you have obviously Joe Davis, you have Burkhardt. I love Joe Davis.
I like Joe Davis more than Burkhardt and Olsen. That's my hot take.
Yeah.
I like Olsen, and he works with Daryl Johnston.
Yeah.
I think they should be the Fox 18.
Because Moose is really good at it. Yeah.
And he's a veteran, and he's been doing it for like 2 decades now. So
yeah. You know what it is too is that I'm surprised they didn't give Davis an opportunity for it, just because when Joe Buck, when he did the Fox Baseball World Series, he did the Super Bowl. So, like, I'm surprised they didn't give Davis that opportunity.
He did good with the World Series, too.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job.
I think he's better with baseball.
Joe Davis.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit.
You can tell us where his heart is at.
Yeah.
To rank them... Well, first off, where are we on Tony Romo? Because Justin made an interesting point.
If you're a Cowboys fan, you'll love him. If you're not a Cowboys fan, you hate him. That's just the way it is.
I feel like he's the most like polarizing man in broadcasting, because if you like the predicts a play before it happens, never really shuts up, but it's energy, it's high energy, it's like it's informative too. You learn about the game listening to Tony Romo. You like it. But if you just want your color commentator to shut up sometimes, it's like you're probably not a big fan of him.
You know, if the team is losing, then I see like, all right, shut up now, like, because you ever seen that meme where it was like your team is down 20 and then Mike Breen says bang, like, and it just hits the soul like
through the chest, bro.
So that's just what that is.
You want to be on his side for the bangs. If you're on the other side, obviously it's bad. But that's most things. The thing with the Knicks, like that I can't stand is like Clyde says all the time. Like when the other team scores a basket, it's like a nice crowd of delight, or like it's like he's so pumped up for the other team. I can't stand. That's what fires me up and gets my head like red. I'm so pissed off.
Listen,
at that.
He's equal opportunity. You can't be a homer.
I know, but he's not even close. It's like you would think he's on the other side. You would think, and like by a lot.
Listen,
it's very like one-sided.
I love Clyde. It's just that I see your point, but I can't go against Mr. Styling, profiling.
I mean, I'm a Breen guy. Clyde, I like him, but there's times where it just, I don't know. He's expecting a lot more than like a lot of fans think. I think that's what it is.
The same way you said no Giant slander, no Walt Clyde Frazier slander from you. All right?
I'll slander the Knicks. I'm not going to slander Clyde.
Fair enough. They definitely deserve slander. We'll get into that in a little bit too. But okay, so I'll go around the room. How are you ranking the broadcasters? NBC, CBS. I think I'm going NBC, ESPN, CBS, Fox. They got to show me, Burkhardt and Olsen got to show me something in the Super Bowl for me to change that. But
I'd got to go. I'll go NBC first. NBC first. I'm gonna go CBS second.
All right, Nance Romo. All right.
Yeah, Fox third, ESPN fourth. Yeah, I'm not a big Buck guy. Just not. If he's on your side, you love him. If you're not on your side, you can't stand him. That's just the way it is with those guys.
I get why Giants fans have such a vendetta against him, because you had the 2007 Super Bowl 42. Yeah. David Tyree makes that incredible catch, and Joe Buck's just like, oh, helmet catch by Tyree. It's not what you want from a big, huge play like that, but he's gotten better over the years. I got to give him credit.
On ESPN, he's gotten better.
Yeah, I guess ESPN's a funner place to work. I don't know what he was going to do at Fox. He was just...
He just left Fox. I don't know why.
Big sad boy energy over there. I don't know how they was treating Joe Buck. Let's stay on the NFL playoffs. Before we get to the AFC, like I said, I want to give Erik the floor. Final thoughts on the Cowboys' performance. Final thoughts actually on Dak Prescott, because we didn't even get to him yet.
I'll tell you something about Dak Prescott. I obviously you give him another year. You can't do anything with him this year, especially with that cap. You're not moving him. You're not cutting him or anything. You give him another year because you have never seen a year like this from him. Last year, he had 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I think 4,400 yards. So he played stellar for Dak Prescott, right? But the thing is, get him another coordinator, because Kellen Moore's offense really gets stagnant at certain points, because you see on second and third down plays, he runs those short comebacks at the line. So it's like, give us something else to like work with, because now you don't have Amari Cooper no more to just like take the top off. You got CeeDee Lamb. He works well in the slot, but he gets doubled in the slot. He's not really that outside wide receiver that you need him to be, but he'll do it. And Gallup, I mean, hopefully he can be something next year, but next year is definitely the year where he has little to no room to make mistakes. And I guarantee you, if he makes those same mistakes next year, you're going to see him packaged, especially if they don't make it deep into the playoffs. You're going to see him packaged in some way to where we can get one of those top quarterbacks next year.
You hit the nail on the head with Dak Prescott in terms of we've never seen a touchdown-interception ratio like this from him before. I know there was a lot of bad luck involved in it, but also it was... You don't have to... I'm watching the game and he throws those 2 picks, right? But, the one to Gallup, I don't know.
He tried to get it over the defender, but it was just like, no.
It's a bad decision at that point in the game, especially starting off the game.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys' defense was good. Dak wasn't good. That just wasn't prime Dak. Wasn't. He wasn't good. He... against a great defense, and listen, he's been good historically. Maybe not this year. I don't remember the great games against the certain teams, but I feel like every time he has a great game, it's always against like an average defense or below. And then when he faces like a great defense, it just does not end up well. It never does, especially in the big spot. It just doesn't end well with him. I don't know if it's like the coaching. I don't know if it's the coordinator, but it never ends well when he faces a top defense in a big moment. It just doesn't go well. I don't know why, but it just doesn't.
Here's the thing about Dak, though, because here's where the discourse around him kind of goes off the tracks a little bit. Because if you're expecting him, I know he's kind of paid like one. Well, not really, because he's in the Kirk Cousins like tier of being paid annually.
Yeah.
So if you're expecting him to be a star franchise quarterback, no matter what you have around him, struggling offensive line, and the Cowboys' offensive line struggled a lot of the year.
Yeah.
So we got to say that. He loses Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup's your number 2. We saw how that gamble worked out yesterday at least. So he's not Mahomes. He's not Rodgers in his prime. He's not those guys where it's like, no matter what I have around me, I'm going to be in the playoffs every year. I'm going to be around first or second team All-Pro every year. He's not that guy. But if you put, like we've seen it had success with a great offensive line, great weapons, a good defense to kind of hold the fort, if your opinion on Dak Prescott today is based on your expectations of him. If you're expecting too much, you're going to be disappointed. If you weren't, if you know who he is, then this is kind of the outcome you expected.
He's a lot like other quarterbacks. You need to have a great situation around him. That's what I think. Like if you put Dak Prescott on the Giants the last couple of years, he wouldn't be good. He just wouldn't be. Like that's a fact. Like if he was on the Giants, he wouldn't be good. If he was on like really bad teams, like name it Houston, he'd be bad. Like it's just a fact. So like you have to have a great situation. And again, I don't want to. Dak's a good quarterback, but there's also a reason why he was picked where he was.
Yeah,
like you are where you're picked sometimes. And most of those quarterbacks need great situations, and especially where you're drafted, you need a great situation. If not, he's not going to be very good.
That's good context because this guy we have to remember was a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
So I know he's the big star for the Dallas Cowboys, and he's the most high-profile guy in football when you have that position. But just because he has that star on his helmet does not mean we get to call him an actual superstar quarterback. Because he was never that. He was a good quarterback with good stuff around him who can win you football games and make you a contender. That hasn't changed. Now, he's going to catch a lot of slander today because how he played against a great defense. And you said it, Ross. Tampa Bay's defense sucked. 5 touchdowns. Cool. San Francisco's defense, it's a lot tougher. So
yeah, but it's also, it's not even just like, because I actually think he played. I give him a lot of credit against Tampa Bay because you say what you want, Tampa's not that good. You still face Tom Brady. Tom Brady's still Tom Brady, even though he's not good anymore, probably. But you still face Tom Brady in their building. It was still an average defense of Tampa. And listen, give Dak credit for winning that playoff game. He did what he had to do. I'm never going to blame him for that. He played great, really good, one of his best games. But what I'm going to say, though, is that historically, not just this year, he's not good outside the NFC East. He just isn't. And a lot of that, by the way, is when the division's been bad.
Yeah. It's
been really bad. He has great numbers against the Giants. Giants have been bad for the last 5-6 years. Really bad. Washed and bad. It plays a factor.
That's the thing I want to touch on, too, because something came across, like, somebody said Philly had a whole turnaround before the Cowboys could win another playoff game. Remember they won the Super Bowl and they had Carson Wentz. They got rid of Carson Wentz. They fired Doug Peterson. They flipped the whole team. The team looks completely new now, and they're on their way to another Super Bowl, if you want to say that.
It's also just like the final thing, and this is a big thing too, and this is why people, so even some Cowboys fans don't love Dak Prescott. Look how Cooper rushed his record. Like that play, like again, it's not saying Dak didn't have a good record. He did. But if you're telling me any quarterback can go into that situation and be pretty average or above average, well then how great, then, like, do you really need Prescott? They need Prescott, obviously. But, like, is he putting them over the top by that much then if other quarterbacks can do it in that system? Like, I don't know. You have weapons around there, too.
I'm going to come at the Cooper Rush thing from another angle because, and we had this conversation earlier in the year, with Cooper Rush, the Cowboys played how they were going to play if they were going to be real Super Bowl contenders. They had healthy running backs and the offensive line was kind of stable. They ran the ball, played good defense. That's how they won games. If they were going to win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott, that's how they needed to play. But I think a combination of injuries on the offensive line and also Kellen Moore, I don't know what it is.
It's coaching.
When Dak Prescott was in the huddle versus Cooper Rush, the Cowboys played a completely different way. They wanted to air it out down the field all over the place. That's not how they were going to win a Super Bowl.
No.
And I was saying that since week 6. Once Dak Prescott came back in, I saw it right away. I'm like, yo, they played great with Cooper Rush. They played Super Bowl caliber. And I'm not trying to say they were going to win a Super Bowl with Cooper Rush. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying the style of play, that's how the Cowboys were going to win, in my opinion.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, the defense looked great. And, if you want to put part of that on because they knew the backup was out there and you knew you had, like, the pressure was on you, right? But you expect the defense to still play that way. Don't like that come back and, now we're going to take a seat back. Like, no. Play the same way they played yesterday against the 49ers, right? Play that way the whole season through. You gotta play every game like it's your last. Because you need to win games in this league. I'm going to tell you why. The games against Jacksonville and Green Bay, if you win those games, you have first seed. Now you're playing the Giants, right?
Didn't they blow 17-point leads in both games?
They blew a 14-point lead against Green Bay and a 17-point lead against Jacksonville. So that's a combination of just like not knowing how to close out the game, and it's just bad coaching.
Yeah, it's the Cowboys, from the coaching, from the personnel, they got a lot of important decisions to make. Because if you look at just the infrastructure of the team, first off, the NFC East, as I'm looking at it now, is going to be crazy next year. I still think the Commanders, with a little retooling around, I guess they're going to start Sam Howell. But I like the rest of that roster. Obviously, the Giants have a lot of cap space. This is the first offseason Joe Shane really gets to work on some things. And also on the Giants, too. So I want to make a comparison to where the Eagles are now. Remember last year, the Eagles went 9-8.
Yes.
They go to Tampa Bay, get washed. But what did they do? They knew Jalen Hurts was their starter. They knew they just needed some weapons. They got him A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
They needed improvements on defense. They got him improvements on defense. They went 13-4 this year. So if you're the Giants, I don't want to call another team in your division the blueprint, but I'm sorry, that's the blueprint.
Yeah, I would agree. But I feel like the difference here with the Giants is the fact that, okay, now we got to pay DJ because DJ is going to look for that money. And then Saquon recently came out and said he can't picture himself in any other uniform but a Giants uniform. So
Go ahead.
We got to drop the bag on Saquon too. Then when it comes to our first rounder, we're going to drop a bag on him as well, whoever it is. Then when it comes to free agents, I don't know, that's like a lot of millions down the drain. Then when it comes to free agents, it's like, how much do we really have to drop a bag on that one guy? Do we really just want to drop it on one guy? Because I feel like there's so many holes in this team. Even if we do drop it on one guy, like, what about the D-line? Where's Dexter Lawrence's help? We got to develop Kayvon still. Secondary, where's Adoree Jackson's help? Because we got to develop Cordell Flott. There's no depth. Morrow's not going to really be that guy. Then when it comes to O-line, it's still mid. What are we going to do for the interior? It's so many holes.
Yeah,
I don't know if all of this 50 million is going to fill it all up. So we got to be strategic. We can't just drop it on a guy like AJ, how the Eagles did, and then pick up some defensive pieces here and there and make it work.
You see, the thing is, the Giants have to look at it and saying the toughest decision, the most important decision they're going to have to make is, what does Joe Schoen think about Daniel Jones? Because at the end of the day, he did not pick up his option. Like, he obviously was not. It's not his quarterback. That's number one. Number two, was this season, although I think he had a pretty good year, was it enough? That's the thing. Was it enough? We don't know if it was enough because it's not his quarterback. I think Dable likes him, but you've seen, even when he plays pretty good, he played good. Like, he's not saying unbelievable. He played good. So I don't know if that's something to, like, is it just because he's not trying to hype him up, or is that because he may be thinking, oh, he's playing good, but I don't know if he's my guy. So, like him is one thing, loving is another.
Yeah, I think Joe Schoen is keeping that poker face, but Daboll is going to be the middleman at the end of the day, because you see how Daboll embraces Daniel on the sideline. When it comes to the mic'd up videos, I be tuned in for that 8 minutes, and I see the embracing from Coach Daboll and how he interacts with DJ. So Shane he's keeping that businessman act on. He's not letting the media really make any judgments of what he may be thinking. But Daboll, when it's him and Daboll in that room together, Daboll's gonna be the man that really figures out if Daniel Jones is getting paid. I think that's what it's gonna be. Daboll's gonna help Daniel get that contract if he does want Daniel around.
This is the question that I've been thinking about since the game ended on Saturday night. Because if you look at Daniel Jones, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? I knew that was going to be the question. Yeah. Because after the Minnesota game, everyone's sky high on Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, you wanted to see him play better. You knew the Eagles, like you said, 70 sacks, top flight defense. How is he going to play? Well, he didn't look great. He didn't look good. So
he didn't look great.
And no. I'm still high on DJ.
I am too. Yeah.
Because
I am.
When you watch that game, it's like, I'm not going to lie, sometimes he was holding that ball super long and didn't get it out of bounds to live another day. But at the same time, Evan Neal was getting dogged out.
Oh, it was bad.
And then on top of that, when the pocket is collapsing, he has nowhere to step up. And when he's stepping up, he has hands in his face.
Right.
All I could really criticize him on is maybe like a couple of sacks. He just didn't get the ball away and put us in worse positions. But other than that, like, I'm not going to sit here and say, all right, DJ, you look terrible out there. This is all your fault. Like, I'm not going to do that. I think if we do get him better receivers, because a lot of the sacks were also coverage sacks, get them the better receiver, upgrade that O-line a little bit. I think he's that quarterback that can function well with good pieces around him, kind of how you saw how Dak does.
But you see, that's the thing, though. I think they obviously got to give him wide receivers, because the receivers that we have on this team are clearly not good enough. They can't get open. That's why I think he was too nervous to throw the football, because nobody was getting open. Not a lot of time. So that's a big thing. But here's the thing. We're saying about Dak Prescott and these guys need best situations to succeed. Are you going to be able to afford to do that and pay Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
That's a big thing, though, because that you don't know if Joe Schoen, because with Joe Schoen, he goes a lot based off of, I could just see this. He goes a lot by positional value. That's what it seems like to me. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to pay a running back a lot of money. That's another thing too. Does he want to give Saquon Barkley the money? I'm leaning like based off of what he says about the player. Yes, he wants to pay him, but the position, I'm going to say he does not, because I don't think he values running backs, and I don't blame him if he decides a run back's not worth it, especially when you have a lot of holes on this team. Yeah. Linebacker, we are awful at linebacker. Awful. Terrible. It was horrific against the Eagles. It was bad all year, but it was really shown a lot in the Eagles game.
It's been that way for a few years, too.
Yeah, we have not found, Ogletree, just, oh my God, horrific linebackers. So that's number one. You have to figure that out. Corners, wide receivers, keep improving that offensive line. Like, they have so many holes, not to mention... And by the way, they might do this too. Although I like him and he was good on the defensive line, they might cut Leonard Williams because it's very possible that he has an out on that contract. They might just look to cut him because they have so many holes on this team. Yeah. And Joe Schoen's got to make a lot of tough decisions that some Giant fans may not like, because it's sad to lose these players, but he's going to have to do it because of one guy and one guy only, and that is Dave freaking Gettleman. He put Joe Schoen in a mess. He basically said, "Here's a dirty toilet, and you gotta clean it." That's what he did. That's how bad Dave Gettleman was. So, thanks a lot, Gettleman. Now we have to cut more guys probably because of that. That's why Bradbury's on the Philadelphia Eagles, because of freaking Gettleman. He would have been on the Giants if he just had a little bit better mind of the cap. He would have still been a Giant, but because of cap problems and cap issues, he had to cut him. That's why.
Here is the interesting. There's so many interesting things you guys just said as Giants fans, but Leonard Williams, I think there's a guy in the draft you can find that's similar value to what he gave you on the field. He sounded, though, in the postgame like he wanted to come back.
I think a lot of the guys want to come back.
He sounded like he wanted to take a pay cut too, though.
If he does, that's like great. I think it's great because chemistry-wise, him and that D-line group, especially Dexter Lawrence, they built something special there. But at the same time, him being able to take that pay cut, it would be more realistic, being that he hasn't been that Leonard Williams since when he first arrived. Like, he overachieved that first year he was with us. I think he had like 6.5, 7 sacks. Nobody thought he was going to come out doing that. And then coming into this season, he had like injury problems or whatever, but he put on pounds. He was looking slow, and then he finishes off the year strong. So if he takes that pay cut and we're able to keep that veteran presence around, he's still a good player. Yes. Keep that veteran presence around and have a good player just for cheaper, that would be way better. And then it gives us that space to fill those holes.
He literally said verbatim, France, I want to stay with my guy, Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. That's the most important thing about the Giants this season, though. Because like you guys said, it was never about wins and losses. The fact that you actually have a culture where guys, could you imagine in the Gettleman era, I want to come back to play. No, you look stupid. The fact that Dable and Shane have created a culture where guys want to come back, possibly take pay cuts. Yeah, Saquon Barkley talking about, I was injured twice. He's crapping on his own money because he wants to be a Giant again.
Yeah, I trust Joshi in the sense that I think he's going to know what's best for the organization long term, and that may not include Saquon Barkley. 5 years from now, I think he's going to be smart with it. Yes, he has the money, but how is he going to go after wide receivers? Does he want to make a trade for a wide receiver? Does he want to sign a wide receiver? Does he want to draft a wide receiver? I think he want to get these guys for cheap, affordable, and you're going to see a lot of these receivers that are on this team right now that are not going to be here next year. They're just not. Darius Slayton's probably gone next year. Let's be honest. As much as people like to hype up Slayton, he's not that good. Let's be real. He has a lot of drops. Richie James, probably not here either. Maybe as a depth piece, he'll be back. The only guy that's probably going to be here is Isaiah Hodges, and that's it. A lot of the guys Galladay's getting cut. I mean, those guys are gone. So they're gonna probably sign cheap contracts and draft some Heck, maybe even trade for DeAndre Hopkins if he wants out of Arizona. Like there are so many options for this team if you really think about it. But the guys right here, right now, outside of Hodges, probably not here next year.
I think DeAndre Hopkins is a good look only if you get the Cardinals to pay a portion of that contract.
And you trade maybe a second or a third.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade a first. Yeah.
Trade a little extra to take some money off, and then you have more room to fill out the roster. I think that's a good move, but listen, regardless, it's looking up for the Giants.
It is.
Yeah.
Of course.
After 5-10 minutes after the game, everyone wants to, how the Giants thought they were going to beat the Eagles. But you look at the state of the team. I promise you, in 1 year, I didn't expect the complete change in culture from Gettleman last year, Judge last year, to Dable and Shane now. I didn't expect this complete 180 in a year. I really didn't.
Me neither. I never thought it. I don't even think Joe Shane thought it. I really don't. I think he was like, we'll go what we got, but if we win 4 or 5 games, doesn't really surprise me. That's kind of what his philosophy was.
Yeah, he was put in a hot garbage situation, and look, life gave him lemons, and he made lemonade. So I'm excited to see what happens next year. I think, like you said, there's no way but up for us.
Yeah, big offseason for the Giants, and also the Jets, too. We didn't forget about y'all and Zach Wilson and all that. But let me rapid fire through the rest of the playoff outcomes from this weekend. So you had the Bengals go up to Buffalo. Listen, it was a 17-point outcome, 27-10 Cincinnati, but it wasn't even that close. The Bengals went in there and they whooped that ass.
From the first snap of the ball game, Bengals were in control, and you could tell. First 2 drives, ball moving. Bills had no answer. And even when they did have the ball, they were doing nothing with it. So
listen, there was a take last year during the playoffs. So Joe Burrow's the next Tom Brady, and everyone was like, whoa. But hold up. This guy with a patchwork offensive line in a hostile environment in Buffalo. Let's not forget, this guy, last time we saw him in college, he won a national championship. Gets hurt his rookie year. Second year goes to the Super Bowl. Who does that? Everyone's calling him the fluke. This season, he's right back in the AFC Championship. So, and Joe Burrow's that guy.
Bro, a reporter asked him about his career or whatever. He said, all I know is the AFC Championship game. When he comes through with that mentality, that's dog mentality. Like, when you have that confidence in yourself, bro, you're unstoppable.
He really does have a special mentality. That's what you want to see out of a franchise quarterback. The Bengals had never won a road playoff game in the last 40, 50 years until Joe Burrow showed up, and now he's 3-0. So that just goes to show you what a quarterback can do for your franchise.
It's crazy.
The other game in the AFC, Mahomes got hurt early. It was kind of looking scary for the Chiefs. Chad Henne, though, led a touchdown drive. I was in the bar watching this game. We were like, Chad Henne? How are the Jaguars going to let Chad Henne do this?
98 yards.
I'm sorry. You can't let that happen.
Never even heard of Chad Henne.
Nah,
never.
See, he was a big college quarterback. He was a Dolphin for a while, but the last couple of years, you forget about him. I didn't even know he was. I knew he was the Chiefs' backup from a couple of years ago when he had that play against Cleveland, but
yeah, that sounds like a fake ID name, Chad Henne.
Travis Kelce after the game, anything is possible. So, Mahomes got a high ankle sprain. I think he toughs it out and plays, but that's no joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's gonna
look nasty,
but it's gonna bother him for sure because that's like one of those injuries you can't really walk on it, and it gets worse as the days go on. So
all that Mahomes magic rolling out the pocket, that's all gonna be limited, and it's gonna affect the game big time.
You're gonna need that against Anarumo and the Bengals defense because he's on a special run right now. This is 2 straight playoffs that he's got it done. So
I know. By the way, Chad Henne, when the Chiefs' offense with Chad Henne quarterback, they're not Mahomes obviously, but they're not bad. I mean, they're actually pretty good with Chad Henne. Actually, if you really think about it, I'm not saying. And Henne looked pretty good out there. I mean, for that one drive, he looked actually pretty good for a backup. I mean, you can't ask for much more than what you got from him. And honestly, I was actually impressed by Jacksonville. I'm not gonna lie. I actually was kind of impressed by them. For them to go to Arrowhead for people that were just saying they're either gonna get blown out, they're gonna lose by double digits. I mean, they only lost by a touchdown. I mean, they were impressive. They they should have their heads held high. I thought they were actually kind of impressive.
I'm super excited to see what they do next year.
I think I wouldn't be upset if I was a Jacksonville fan.
And you know what's funny? You look at we just finished talking about the Giants situation last year. The Jazz with the whole Urban Meyer, they have the number 1 pick 2 straight years.
It's so similar.
It's
really
extremely
is.
similar because Doug Peterson came in. That's what I want the NFL teams looking for coaches this year to really focus on. Yeah, scheme and, the Kingsbury and the McVays, that's cool and all, but you got to have a guy who's going to set the culture. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that, then nothing else matters. Mm-hmm. We definitely saw that play out this season. That's it for the playoffs, but real quick on the NBA. So let me get to the Nets first. I'll start with the positive in New York basketball. They had a nice comeback win against the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco yesterday. Kyrie Irving, 38 points.
Kyrie.
I feel like every time Kyrie sees Steph Curry, Kyrie just...
He gets in that mode. He gets on demon time, bro.
Listen, he's on a special run. I think the previous game he had like 46.
Yeah.
So we were talking, can Kyrie lead? I guess he could lead.
Yeah,
I guess he could lead. I guess he could lead a little bit. As for who's leading the Knicks, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just... I don't know.
Nobody. Nobody. They sell, and sell. Please. 7 first-round picks for this ride. Let's go. Let's trade everybody. Come on. But I'm sorry. They're done. There's no way with this team.
They might as well put old boy serving hot dogs at concessions as the head coach because this is ridiculous.
I don't think any coach would be good with this team. I don't.
That's a lie. Nah, you're just being...
What coach?
I just need Tibbs on.
Tibbs sucks, He's trash.
But anybody,
like every
bro.
coach over the last 20 years sucks.
Ross, this is where you piss me off, man. Because it doesn't matter that the Knicks had bad coaching hires before. It doesn't excuse this one.
Yeah, put Spike Lee there, bro.
Who would you want as your coach? Who? What would you want?
Kenny Atkinson.
Okay, fine. Kenny Atkinson. So the team sucks for the next 2 years. They're like combined. They win 45, 50 games. Then what?
At least we actually have a process, though. What's the process with Tibbs?
Okay, if they sell this roster and you got 7 first-round picks and fire Tom and they cleaned house. They cleaned house Leon Rose, Tom Thibodeau, and they got rid of this roster. I have no problem firing Tom Thibodeau. They're not going to do that.
They're not going to do that. You know why? Because it's all nepotism in the Garden. Because you have Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson, you have Tom Thibodeau, Leon Rose. Leon Rose, I swear by Tom Thibodeau. Why? What's this man done?
When Jalen Brunson was in that Eagles uniform, that was the season. Season over.
They're probably eating dinner right now, laughing at us like, we're not changing anything.
Season over. Season over.
These dumb college kids.
Can't be wearing uniforms.
Change.
You can't be wearing uniforms when you suck. You suck. Your team sucks, and that's. I know Mitchell Robinson's out. No excuse. Your defense stinks. You can't defend the three. So that's. They give up a record setting of threes.
Guess who's coming into the Garden tomorrow, though? That's Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers, baby.
There we go. Mitchell gets 60. Leon Rose gets fired before Tom hits the shower.
Mitchell going for Will Chamberlain record.
Yo, he's going off if he play. I know he's hurt, but that's the story in New York sports. Giants out. Nets playing well. Knicks are the Knicks. I didn't even get to the Jets. You know why? You want me to talk about Zach Wilson today? Maybe tomorrow. We'll see Brayton tomorrow. We'll talk about them. As for today, we're going to call it a show on WHPC Sports Talk. From Erik Williams, Ross Levine, Franz Compare, I am Joshua Umahi. Thanking you once again for listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.